Well, the pandemic forced 63% of engaged couples to postpone their weddings this year. That's according to a Lending Tree survey.
But clients at one local venue learned moving to 2021 wasn't an option. Consumer I-Team reporter Kat Reed explains why and what other couples need to know about postponing.
Deciding where to say I do is one of the most important parts of wedding planning.
We just really had that gut feeling when we walked in that it was a good choice.
Casey Wine Co. in Olathe was the place for Lindsay Agrun and her fiance. The drapery, the chandeliers, and the wine won them over. They signed a contract in November 2018 and put down about $2,700.
We signed it without a care in the world, ready to move forward and get married.
But as their September 2020 date approached, the whole world changed. States shut down due to the coronavirus, and when they reopened, there were warnings of a second wave.
We decided in July to start reaching out to our venue as well as our vendors.
Agrun says most of those vendors were willing to work with them should they decide to postpone until next year. But she ran into a wall with Casey Wine Co.
Our question around it was, do we have the option to postpone with you and move into 2021 if the state were to shut down?
The answer from the venue? No dates will be offered in 2021. Casey Wine Co. did offer several alternate dates in October and November of this year. The couple's contract makes no mention of date changes, but there is a force majeure clause which states the couple would only get a refund if something happened, making it illegal or impossible for Casey Wine Co. to hold the event. Johnson County is following the state's voluntary recommendations that mass gatherings of more than 45 people are not recommended. That means having a wedding isn't illegal.
It puts people like us in a tough spot where we are deciding between thousands of dollars versus the safety of family.
Studi Redcorn and his fiancee Marcia Croft had a July 2020 date at Casey Wine Co. They asked about postponing to 2021. After learning the policy, they settled for an October 2020 date, but were still uneasy.
Everybody that we care about, that we really want to be there, has to travel a long distance to get there.
The couple decided to cancel, forfeiting the nearly $7,000 they put down with the venue.
That's a hard decision.
It is a lot of money, and now we're just going to have to try and find a new venue, a new date, and all on a much smaller budget.
It was a similar story for Haley Capelli, who canceled her November wedding at Casey Wine Co. and forfeited nearly $3,000. She had picked the space because it was big enough to accommodate her large family. But due to the pandemic, much of her family couldn't travel from the East Coast.
My family not being able to be there is just completely and utterly not an option for me.
We open up these doors.
Casey Wine Co. owner Kirk Berggren walked us through the safety precautions being taken at the venue, including separating tables and fumigating with ozone gas, which research shows can be effective at neutralizing the coronavirus. They're also requiring masks.
We just decided, while it's still safe and we can provide the environment, we were going to have everyone that had a 2020 date keep a 2020 date.
They're also not booking any new weddings for next year.
We don't want brides and grooms stressed. We don't want to be stressed. And I would rather take the financial hit than to get involved in that. And now, we go through this merry-go-round again.
Berggren says there's too much uncertainty, and that could lead to more postponements. His advice for couples: don't wait to start your life together, but
understand that some people that are close to you are going to choose not to come to the venue. We've had several brides that said, my mother can't come now, but we're going to have our wedding anyhow. My grandmother can't come because she's not going to come here and be exposed.
These kinds of conversations will continue to happen as the pandemic drags on. So we went to a wedding industry expert to find out how to reach a resolution.
We are hearing more often than not that vendors and venues are accepting postponement dates.
But those may come with strings attached, like putting more money down. After all,
you have vendors where 63% of their revenue actually comes right before the wedding date or right after the wedding date.
Trump Hour recommends having face-to-face conversations via Zoom or in person with your vendors.
There needs to be empathy on both sides.
Lindsay Agrun went ahead with her September wedding, but at a different venue that gave her the option to postpone.
We've really been very lucky to find a place that's willing to work with us.
I'm Consumer I-Team reporter Kat Reed, 41 Action News.
Casey Wine Co. told us only 5% of its events have been canceled since the pandemic began.
For couples considering postponing, we have a couple more tips for you. One, Communicate with your guests as soon as possible. You should also consider hiring a planner. Wedding Wire says even if you didn't have one to start, you can hire a planner now to facilitate conversations with vendors. And check availability with all of your vendors before committing to a new date. Schedules are filling up quickly. Be sure to tune in tomorrow morning when Consumer I-Team reporter Kat Reed shares advice if you're just starting the wedding planning process.